Good evening, everyone. Jose J. Garcia, real estate investor, coach, and mentor. So with me again, special guest as always. Great to have you again. So mobile home park owner, dealer, transporter. Okay, Cole Phillips, how you doing this evening?
Doing great, doing great. A little late, but we're good.
Glad to have you on here for sure. Yes, long day as you were talking about out setting up land packages, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit as well. But Cole, so last time we were on here, I want to say it's probably right at a month ago. You struck a lot of attention, and that was to be given. I mean, we got of course, the recording on social media. I think we're up to 1,000 views at this point. We got about 500 likes, so people are watching, no doubt. But it's not so much obviously the video that they're watching the recording, but the interest they're getting into. And some of those questions are coming in. I can answer some of those questions, but y'all got to remember on here is I do individual mobile homes. For time to time, we'll do land packages. You want to talk about mobile home parks and the structure and the setups. Cole's who you need to talk to. So Cole, being that obviously the questions are coming in and the interest on there is, what are some of the things that you're covering more so? We're going to talk about the event coming up 2 months from now, not even 2 months from now, which we got an event. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But all in all, is what are some of those specifics that you look into more in a mobile home park when you're talking about investing?
Investing, well, I can give you that firsthand. In a recent one, I've just put under contract in it was the end of October. I actually drove up. I saw a realtor had called me about a park. It was a small park, but 26 places, and she called me about it. It's an off-market deal. Went up and looked at it, and just crazy good area. Small, and the reason I say small so many times because so many people will overlook smaller communities, and when I say small, under 50 pads, because they're like, well, you got to have a manager to run it and it's not generate enough income. But if I could go back in my career and change, one of the things I did was I always went big, and I would have probably been better off knowing what I know now to go smaller and just have smaller parks in a more confined area. Easier to control, you can control the tenants so much easier, not as many moving parts, easier to keep the park clean. I mean, it's just a much better deal. So this park here, I looked at, put it under contract. It was a very nice little park. The park owned most of the homes. There were only 3 tenant-owned homes, which that's up my alley anyway. So that's kind of what at this stage in my career, that's what I look at. Earlier in my career, I was big. I bought a park, 250 space park. I owned 140 homes in it when I bought it. So. And I'm not saying that's not a bad way. I'm just saying that smaller parts get overlooked.
Yeah, I'm seeing that more and more as well. And you did mention that was one of my questions for you this evening was you obviously prefer the smaller parks. And I mean, you're talking about multiple in one area, one that can be managed by one park manager potentially, and obviously be over in that same location. But you suggest that for everybody, it sounds like. So, I mean, that's the way to go on that. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit more, obviously, on the education and the event to come. But looking into research, just from some of the Googling that I've been doing, if you will, is why do you think there's a lack of boot camps and or coaches or mentors for mobile home parks and the stuff that you're going to be covering?
Well, my answer would be biased because it would be geared more towards of what I do and what I have done. I think there probably are boot camps. There may be now. I know there was one a good time back, but
Put it on here.
I just don't. It's hard to find people that are as well rounded as I am, as far as they own parks, have owned multiple parks, continue to buy parks, and have setup license, setup crews, retail center. So I bring so much to the table from every angle. It would be easy for somebody to say, well, you just set homes, you don't know nothing about parks. Well, that's not true. I've owned many parks and can and still have parks. So I can bring many different angles to a table, and not many people can do that. So when you start getting into boot camps or teaching somebody about, well, this is the correct way to do it. This is what are you leaning on? Do you own parks? Have you owned parks? Have you built parks? Have you actually installed mobile homes? Do you know the A to Z of the problems that come with it? So I think that would probably be a big reason nobody's jumped off in that end, because having one person who has the different angles and has actually done it from the ground up and every aspect of it, that's probably difficult to find.
How long you been doing this?
I started in 1995.
95. Okay. So, and again, that's one thing I tell a lot of people on here in my coaching is, I don't want to learn from a teacher. No disrespect, but a teacher reads from behind a book. I want to learn from somebody who's doing it, and preferably active at it like yourself. You're there, you've done it, you've seen it, and you're still very active doing it. So, I mean, anything new coming up, about it. So that's a whole different on there. Now, talk about, let's say no such thing. Let's say a perfect mobile home park. What would be one park that you could review and say that is a home run? That's what I need immediately.
I'm actually helping a portfolio right now with one. I told them, I said, it's very, very rare that I would say you bought a park that I would have bought, but they did. It's in Ozark, and it's in the back gate. There's a military base in Ozark, and they found a park that was 50 spaces. Probably only 15 spots were occupied. There were only 15 houses in it. The houses came with the park, but it was on city sewer, county water or city water, but great area. I mean, of course, the park was run down, and it was, we're actually have demoed all the homes, and we're fixing to start putting new ones in. But that's the perfect park in a great area. It's been run down. It's been run down, but it's in a just fabulous location.
That's so disrespectful.
Okay, we're good. Cole, we didn't lose you, did we?
No, I'm here.
Okay. Keep going. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So anyway, so they got a perfect park. To me, a perfect park would be, biggest thing is location. Second thing would be is the homes that are in it. What is the scoop? Now, to me, it was perfect because there was hardly anybody in the park, and that's always been kind of my. That's what I was always looking at. I'd rather take one that was empty than take one that was
Mute
full.
your screen.
Like I wanted it.
So you're saying city water, city sewer. Those are two immediate things that you're looking into to say that's an ideal park.
It doesn't have to have city sewer, but it's nice. But it doesn't have to have it. Like the park in Birmingham that I put the contract on, it doesn't have it. It has tanks. So that's not a deal killer.
Shut the hell up.
What about owning all the homes inside the park?
I would prefer to own all the homes inside the park. Yes.
Really?
Yep.
So even though that's more landlord status, like you would rather?
Yes. So, that's the big debate. Every time I go somewhere to talk for, and like Seco and things like that, I'm probably the lone wolf when it comes to owning the homes. Everybody wants a park that's all lot rent only. Okay, I get it. There are a lot of pros to that. But I've owned a lot of parks and a lot of big parks. And when you lose the control of a tenant, you're just rolling the dice then. So if I've got control of the house, then I have control of who moves in the house. I have control from then on out. If the house is sold, they could sell it to anybody. They could just numerous things can happen where you could easily lose control of it.
Yeah. Well, pros and cons to everything, I suppose. Most people, yeah, I would agree that most people, I mean, that's kind of the business that I do, is most say, hey, I want nothing to do with the mobile homes. We own the land, the dirt, that's what we manage, we control. But I guess like anything else, there's the pros and cons to that as well. So let's talk real quick about lot rents, and that would kind of go hand in hand with what you're talking about, because now you're a landlord, you're doing rentals on the home, so they're obviously higher, but the lot rent itself is still there. So is there laws against, you can raise a lot rents X amount so many times a year, or keeping you from?
No, not that I'm aware of. Not in our sector.
Really? Okay. So that's something you can keep on going, something new to learn. And I guess like anything, that's the value that you can bring in, I guess, when you buy a new park, is immediately think, how high can you go up?
Yeah, well, your lot rents and your home rents are, they go hand in hand, but they also are dictated by the condition of the park. So much so, and the area too, and no doubt. I mean, like I do all the yes stuff, and there are parks that are, they surround Atlanta. They're on the 285 bypass all the way around Atlanta. And there's some parks they have that are getting, 650 to 750 lot rents, not all in rents, lot rents. So location's big, but also the condition of your park dictates a lot of that.
Yeah, interesting. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. So I think we were looking at a park in near Kennesaw, and that's about what the lot rents were going to $600 just for the lot rent. So I mean, yeah, I mean, if it calls for the market, I guess that's what it allows. When you're thinking about filling in pads, that's something we do as well. Try to help out the park owners and work with them. Are you thinking new mobile homes or used mobile homes?
All depends on the location and the park. It is very tough. It's tough to take a older park with older homes in it and put new homes in it and be able to get the rent you need to justify the price of the new home. That's a tough road to go down. I'm working with people right now, and one of the first thing they ask is, how are we going to infill the lots? Well, unfortunately, there's only a couple of ways to do it that will actually work, and they're very labor intense. And just this is stuff we'll talk about in the school that's coming up, or the boot camp that's coming up. But when you go to a park and you're trying to reposition it so that you can put in new, there are many times I've had to go in, in my own parks, and the best way I could find it or explain it is you build a park within a park. So you take a park that's 100 space park. Well, I'm going to take me one road, and I'm going to gut that road, and I may have to move all them houses off that road to other places in the park or sell them, wherever the case may be. But then that gives me the opportunity to go to that one road, or how many lots it is, it doesn't matter, but make that my phase one. So it would be a park inside of a park. So I could then put in all the new homes and say, so everybody could see, hey, look, this is what I'm transitioning the park in. And that little sector, you'll be surprised, can actually generate, because it's the new sector, the phase one, it's all new, blah, blah, blah. I can get the rents I needed for the same house that's used on the other side of the park. So that's a little, I wouldn't say trick I found, but that's the only way I found to do it, where I could mingle the two together and it actually worked.
I'm curious, what's the older mobile home you moved or brought into a park?
Yeah, so not personally, I've never went that route. I've removed 60 models, 70 models all day long. We put them in trash cans all day long, every week, basically. You gotta think that most parks were built in the 60s and 70s. And we're still, and that's one of the challenges that face everybody who buys a park, is that they were built for 12 wide homes and 40 feet long. And now we're trying to put 16 by 80s in there. And that's one of the biggest obstacles that park owners are going to face when buying a park. What can I fit in there? And that's one of the first things I look at is, can I even get a house in? Can I get a house out?
Well, that's what we were going over when I was there with you at the park, and that's what I've been talking about. Some of these coachings is it's not so easy to say, move one in or move one out. I mean, these things have been sitting there for years for one, but just the sizes of the homes now versus then, I guess the spaces that were put for them, it's not as simple as coming in and out.
Oh yeah. So when I do conferences, you know, the biggest thing I could tell somebody looking to buy a park is you have to get in somebody's corner and have somebody in your corner that's educated that can come in here and say, look, Cole, I'm looking at, you know, this park, it's 50 spaces and it's got 30, you know, empty spots in it. I can fill them up, right? They're all excited and everything. Okay, well, what size house will fit on it? I don't know. Okay, what does the county require in between houses? Well, I don't know. So what about trees and things like that? Has anybody seen if you can even get a home to the lot? Well, I don't know. So all these questions, the answers, I don't know. When the vacant lots looks great on paper, but
Yeah.
once you start budgeting for getting that lot filled, now that vacant lot don't look so good, right? So there's a lot that goes in it, and it's people will say, oh, it's just a mobile home park, you know, it's no big deal, blah blah blah. That's so far from the truth. It's not even crazy. It's not even funny because there are a lot of moving parts in a park, especially when you go to try to start filling up vacant lots.
So my next question was again, the single versus double wide. I like single. To me, it's simple. It's one step, you know, kind of gets it done. But when we're talking about sizes of the pads and the roads, etc., I mean, you're talking about limitation from a double wide ever potentially coming into the community.
Very few parks have double wides, but their lots just won't allow for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I set them. I mean, I you know, if I usually set 300 to 400 houses a year for parks all over the South. And out of that big number, you know, you only maybe 10 are double wides because there's just nowhere to put them. They're just not, parks wasn't built for that.
Yeah, understood. So one of the things when we're talking about park owners is how can you get the residents, the tenants to pay for all the utilities? You remove that expense from the park owner side and hand it to the tenants. It is their expenses anyway. One of those things is the water. If we can charge them for water, obviously that's one less thing they got to pay, and or in a way, it's kind of like raising lot rent that way. What do you think about sub-metering every home when you're thinking about that? And what are typically cost expenses for something like that?
So I keep going back to Yes because you know, they're very large and I do a lot for them, but they actually went in and they had a 200 space park and they went in and sub-metered every one of them to
Wow.
digital sub-meter meters where they can actually read the meter from the office, right? It sends a signal, and just like you know, the cities do. Cost wise, that's all on where you're at. And post COVID, I wouldn't probably even want to see what that would be post COVID. There's no telling what that price would be. Is it worth it? For sure. I mean, I know the problem with this part that Yes did because they couldn't get a control of the water. The bill was so high. So they had, you know, they felt that there was really no option but to do that. And they, you know, it was a high price, whatever that price is. I know it was high, but they figure off, hey, look, you know, in 10 years, that's going to pay for itself and then some. So
give me a number. I'm curious. Give me a number pre-COVID. Let's just pretend.
Well, the meter itself, I think she paid $400 for it.
Okay.
So it probably was $800 to $900 per pad price to get it installed. You got to hook the water back up. You got to disconnect the current water. So probably a $800 to $900 price tag per home.
Okay. So definitely worth it. I mean, yeah, you know, long term, long run, I guess we're talking more sense. Yeah, you know, definitely something they can kind of, for those of you thinking about it, kind of keep in mind as well. So tell me, what is one of the worst plumbing issues you've ran up on in a community, and how did you handle it?
Let's see. There was a park. Let's see how that went. Probably the worst one I've seen was a community called me and said, Cole, look, we're buying a park and our financing bank. However they were doing it, it was some kind of special financing. I don't know if it was Fannie or whatever they were getting, but would not allow galvanized water pipes in the park. So part of their loan is they had to replace the galvanized with PVC.
Ooh.
Yeah. So here's the real bad part about this is that the water lines were all on the back end of the homes and they ran underneath the homes. So back in the day, the way they did it was, the infrastructure, most of the houses are sitting on the infrastructure, the main lines on the back end of the homes. And this one was for sure. So it was just a complete nightmare because you had to we had to rerun the line by the road because we couldn't go underneath the houses. That was going to be impossible. And so we had to rerun it, and you trying to deal with keeping people alive, keep the main line alive while you're switching it over. So it was a complete nightmare. That was a $90,000 price tag on that one.
Wow. Just for Cole, we lost your camera there. So, and you just tossed something out there very important. You said without the proper plumbing, these individual investors, buyers, whoever it was, were not allowed to get a loan. So loans for a mobile home park can be impeded if there's improper plumbing, is what you're saying.
Well, that's the first time I had ever heard of that. You'd asked for the most unusual. I'd never heard that before. They had like 120 days after purchase to make that transition. I'd never heard of that before, but whatever loan they went and got, that was a stipulation of their loan.
Absolutely. So one thing that would keep you from buying a mobile home park.
Oh, a lot of things would keep me from buying it. Probably location. Number one.
Just small population, just crime area.
No, probably. I mean, when I say location, I mean the surroundings of the park's location. Any park is fixable, but you can't fix the community. So if the community is bad, you're already going up an uphill battle. So the community would dictate whether I bought a park or not.
Absolutely. Makes sense because you can't control that, obviously. So good time to buy parks at this time, you think?
I think so. I'm buying one. So, I guess it depends on what you find.
Right. I mean, I guess with any market, with the right deals are right at any given time. So what is one strategy you use to find off-market deals, mobile home parks?
So I mean, I'm pretty well connected in the community. So I have brokers from all over call me all the time. So I get quite a bit run by my plate, but like I said, at this stage that I'm at, if I was much younger, I would be buying a lot more that comes across that I see. But now I kind of just cherry pick. So I see a lot of off market stuff, and as I'm starting to see more of that just in the past 3 months, that's upticked a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're winding down on time. So let's talk about the event, the boot camp we got coming up on February. So that's something we've been talking about in the works, and we don't know yet if it's going to be a 1 day, 2 day. We'll let Cole decide. We'll talk it over and see. But it's all to add value. Like with any call, any podcast we have on here, is always how can we add value? How can we help people? There's a lot of park owners out there that own mobile home parks. They're not new investors by any means. And there's a lot of questions that Cole has answered that some of these guys have no idea. There's a ticking time to an issue coming about that will eventually arise, and you have to know how to handle it. So Cole, why is it, before I tell them about all the specifics on the event, why is it important for them to join us on February?
Well, I won't say it's the first of its kind because it's not. However, I don't know of anybody doing this right now. And with the people that are entering the market, and even the big REITs that are entering the market, here's why it's so important. And this is going to take a second, but I'll tell you why. Even if you've bought parks, let me tell you why this would help you, because the problem, I get calls daily. Hey, Cole, look, I've got this issue. I've got this issue, it's daily. Daily I get these calls. Well, these could be avoided, you know, and or you could have budgeted for these. So if you're going to buy a park, why not get with somebody who can tell you A to Z what to look for, what's going to go wrong, what can go wrong, what. And I'll give you a quick example real quick. And in the 2-day, you'll hear a lot of examples because I'm all over the United States doing this stuff. So I see things from all over, but I had a gentleman buy a park. I was setting 50 homes up for him in this park, right? So I get my first 20 set of 25 homes in the park, get them all set up. I pass every inspection that was known to man, right? Pass the power inspection, the power inspection, the set inspection, the decks, blah, 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 ready for the power company to come out and hook up power. Power company comes in and says, we don't have enough power to pull these new homes. Yeah, there you go. $140,000 that cost that park owner. Okay. So when you got somebody who's been in the trenches and who knows that, I promise you, everybody who's listening to this or will listen to this, they're going to say, ooh, didn't see that one coming, because I'd never heard of it, right? I didn't know you couldn't have enough power. It don't even make no sense, right? But that's the items, that's the moving parts that's come with a mobile home, buying a mobile home community. So as much as this is for a newbie and, you know, and what you can teach them, this is just as much geared for the guy who owns a park or owns multiple parks.
Mhm.
Another big thing is that, you know, a guy could call and if they own parks now is, how do I get this stuff done? So what I'm talking about here is, so you go out, you look at a park, and it could be a number of things, a million things. You got 10 rehabs that need to be done. You know, they're vacant houses just sitting there, or there's 10 lots that need to be filled, or there's 50 trees that need to be cut. The list goes on and on. Well, you found the park, you think it's a good deal, on paper it's a good deal, and it may be a good deal, but how do you actually get them items done?
Mhm.
How do you, you know, your value add says, man, if you do all this stuff, the end number is going to be this, right? It's some big crazy number. Okay, well, how do you get to that? Well, that's an everyday struggle for everybody, you know. So we're going to go over that. Moving homes in, moving homes out, rehabbing. You know, there's a sector now, and this is the sector that you're in, is people are actually going in and buying homes in parks, right? Well, there's an art to that, you know.
Let's talk about the date. We're winding down to a minute. I know this call wasn't going to be long enough. It's never long enough. And this is why y'all need to join us. 2 days, 1 day. We'll decide on that. Stay up to tune on our social media, GarciaMHU.com. You can see the review of this video as well. But February 18th, at this time, that's what we're doing. February 18th, 2023. You cannot miss it. If you are a park owner, park manager, if you're looking to invest in parks, this is an event for you. It's one, I don't know how many times we'll do this with Cole, maybe a one and done, but definitely something you need to join. So anything else, Cole, before we go?
No, but limit your class size. We can't have 100 people running around.
Absolutely. Well, hope to see you all there. Thank you all for joining me this evening.